Hey up everyone, welcome to the Rugby League History channel. I hope you're all well on this Wednesday and I hope that you're having a good week so far. Tonight I'm going to be doing another video for my Forgotten Rugby League Ground series, and the ground I'm going to be featuring tonight is the Sydney Sports Ground. This is a ground that a lot of people don't really talk about much these days. Maybe people my age and younger would never have heard of the ground or wouldn't know much about it, so this video is just going to talk about the Sydney Sports Ground and give an overview of it and talk about the history of how it plays a part in the history of rugby league. So the Sydney Sports Ground was opened in 1911 and it hosted its first match in the same year, and it was Glebe against Western Suburbs in the first ever game to be played there, and Glebe run out winners 8-0. Now, Eastern Suburbs, this was their home ground from 1911 to 1986, and their first match that they ever played at the Sydney Sports Ground was in round 2, 1911, and they beat North Sydney 22-9. Now, also alongside Eastern Suburbs, the South Sydney used it as a home ground between 1928 and 1947, and you could see that two of the early glory periods in the club's history were whilst they were based at the Sydney Sports Ground. Now, Eastern Suburbs also had a lot of success at the ground in the early years. Alongside the Sydney Cricket Ground, though, the Sydney Sports Ground hosted a number of grand finals. It hosted 11 in total, 11 grand finals in the 1920s, 30s, 40s, and I think the last one was in 1951, South Sydney against Manly. The second biggest ever recorded score in rugby league history, well, in Australian rugby league history in the top grade, came in 1935 when Eastern Suburbs defeated Canterbury 87-7 at the ground. Dave Brown, a future immortal of the game, he scored 45 points that day. He scored 5 tries and kicked 15 goals, so it was an absolute smashing that East gave Canterbury that day. Eastern Suburbs, they played their final ever game there on the 29th of June 1986 against North Sydney, and they won that match 21-14 in front of 8,175 fans. Now, the Sydney Sports Ground was, falling into disrepair. They had decided at the time that they were going to demolish the Sydney Sports Ground and they were going to build a new stadium there, which turned out to be the Sydney Football Stadium. So in 1987 the ground was demolished, and built on top of the actual site was the Sydney Football Stadium, which in turn itself was demolished 30 years later. Now, in total, the Sydney Sports Ground hosted the second most amount of games ever hosted by a ground in the New South Wales Rugby League competition, and if you could count with the other grounds today, it still is the second most played at venue. It hosted 985 games between 1911 and 1986. Eastern Suburbs' record at the ground was 501 games that they played at the ground, 284 wins, 199 losses and 18 draws. South Sydney also had quite a good record there. They had a winning percentage of over 50% at the ground. And the Sydney Sports Ground, the highest ever attendance at the ground was 34,000 people, and that was for one of the grand finals that was played there. So that's my video on the Sydney Sports Ground. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something, or maybe you'd never heard of the Sydney Sports Ground before. If you did enjoy the video, click the like button. If you're enjoying the content that I'm doing or the videos I'm doing, click the subscribe button and click that notification bell so you get an email when I do a new video. Anyways everyone, I'll catch us all later in the next video, and stay tuned when I do that one, alright? Okay, ta-ra.